how much attention do you pay to some of the other stories that are coming out? Like, for example, like James Fox's latest documentaries. How much attention do you pay to that kind of stuff?
You talk about how do you pronounce it? Varginha?
Varginha.
Is that the one?
Yeah. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, I watched that. It was fascinating.
A lot of the people that were there that day, James says that they were just intimidated to the point where they would not talk about it. Like the one guy, he literally chased him off, threatened to shoot him and kill him if he didn't leave his property because the government intimidation. They say that these people, these quote unquote men in black would come and basically tell them, like, if you love your family, don't say a word about this to anyone. The Air Force, the United States Air Force, all these United States planes landed the next day and basically like hushed everyone up and took all the evidence and went back to the United States.
It's interesting because, what official channel of communication exists between Brazil and the United States in order to facilitate something like that? What does that relationship tell us? And when did it start? Did it start then, or did it start elsewhere? And if it started elsewhere, why did it start there?
Between 1977 and 1978, the region surrounding Colares, Brazil, experienced a wave of strange UFO sightings that were witnessed by hundreds of people, to the point where the Brazilian military was called out to investigate, with some assistance from the United States.
There was a biological being inside of a craft that accidentally crashed. It seems like they're so advanced that that sort of thing wouldn't happen.
I think there's some assumptions in there that I'll push back on.
Okay.
One, a Lamborghini is incredibly advanced, anything, a Tesla, they still break. If you were to take one back to 3000 BC and drop someone in a car, you'd probably think it worked all the time too. But let's just put that aside.
You're right. That's fair.
Let's put it aside for the most part, and then talk about the assumption around a biological entity having importance. I would imagine that technology would move into an area where you'd be able to replicate biology artificially, and that would be probably a much more efficient means of reproduction of the asset or modification of it and the maintenance of it versus, say, a heavy mechanical object. That's just I'm not saying that's truth or like anything, but I'm just saying
we would be able to print, like 3D print our bodies, right?
Just because something's biological doesn't mean that it's evolved over billions of years to be a self-intelligent, its own agent. It's biological, but does that mean it's not a robot in some sense?
Right.
I don't know, that's an assumption, I think. So just because it's biological, maybe that's just, the best means for doing the thing.
Right. Yeah. No, that does make sense.
Maybe there is no consciousness, too. Another assumption. You potentially have a biological being that isn't necessarily a conscious agent, perhaps.